Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Zevachim Daf Nundal. We are holding on a Gemara base, 5 lines off the bottom. Back to the configuration of the Mizbeach and the placement of the Mizbeach, which actually was exactly on the borderline between Shevet Yehuda and Shevet Binyamin. Interestingly, so there was a part of the Mizbeach which was missing a Yesod, like we learned yesterday. So the Yesod was the foundation which encircled the bottom. It was like a protrusion foundation which protruded from the bottom of the Mizbeach, encircling the bottom, right near the floor. But interestingly, it would only encircle part of the Mizbeach, and not the entire Mizbeach, and the question was why? The answer was because that part belonged to Shevet Yehuda, on which they couldn't build a Mizbeach. So that required them to sort of delete that portion of the Yesod, thereby leaving the entire constructed Mizbeach on Shevet Binyamin's territory, as we'll see. Amar Belevi, Bar Chama, Amar Chama Bar Chanina. In fact, it was a ritzua, small strip of land, which was leaving, sort of protruding from Mechalkel Yehuda. So, as we already surmise, Yehuda and Binyamin had their territory alongside each other. But interestingly, there was a little strip coming out of Yehuda's area, inserting itself into Binyamin's territory. And that's the little strip that we're speaking about, where the Yesod could have been built, in which case it would have been built on the Chelik of Yehuda, which was not proper. The Maharsha explains, by the way. He says, what's the big deal to have? He says, each Shevet has his own unique role, his unique mission within the general, Klal Yisrael arrangement, right? So he says Yehuda was Malchut, represented kingdom, kingship, leadership, rulership. Whether it's the kings, whether it's the idea that the Sanhedrin, the grand court in Yerushalayim, in the Beis HaMikdash, would be situated in Yehuda's area as well. So they were the rulers, they set the tone. That was their job, so to speak. But not kahuna. Priesthood, serving the Beis HaMikdash, that was not their role. Right? So that could not have been in their territory. The Mizbeach, which is the focal point of the Beis HaMikdash, that's where the karbanos are processed, that could not have been situated on Chelik Yehuda. So there was a little strip protruding from Yehuda, and would insert itself into Binyamin's territory. Binyamin HaTzadik, the son of Yaakov Avinu, he foresaw in his holy vision, Ruach HaKodesh, that this will happen. That there's a part which belongs to Yehuda, where the Mizbeach is meant to be. And it was mitzvah, he was distressed all day, constantly, to try to take it back. He wanted that the entire Mizbeach should be on his territory. Shenemar Chayfev olav kol hayom. Chayfev, Rashi says, is a person who's like mingling with his hair, deep in thought, concerned. Chayfev kol hayom, it was a constant concern. He desired to be the full host of the Mizbeach. Lefichach, as a result of this desire that was expressed, that this really wanting to have Hashem, wanting to have the privilege to host Mizbeach entirely, Lefichach Zocha, he was Zeicha, he merited Binyamin was Zeicha, Binyamin HaTzadik, V'nasa ush bizcha nakadosh baruch. In fact, he became the host, the ultimate host for the Shechina of Hashem, because the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Arayin, which had the Luchais, representing Hashem's Shechina on the highest degree, was situated in Chelik Binyamin. You see, Chelik Binyamin came from the west towards the east, right? So if you start on the top of the Beis HaMikdash, you have the Kodesh HaKadoshim, right? You have the Kodesh Ma'aravi, the western wall, then Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Heichal, all the way down to the Mizbeach, that all belonged to Binyamin. Yehuda came up from the east, from the bottom, all the way up to the Mizbeach, and a little strip that should have been the Mizbeach, could have been the Mizbeach, but turned out not to be because they just did not build the Mizbeach on that little strip. So they converged right in the middle, right at the Mizbeach area. And because of Binyamin's really wanting to host the Shekhinah, he became the host of the Shekhinah, and the Kodesh HaKadoshim with the Arain was situated in his territory. In fact, throughout history, wherever we had the Arain, whether it was in the Mishkan Shilai or V'Givain, it was always in Chelik Binyamin. He became Moshe Bizchan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shanema, as the pasuk says, of being safe of Shachin. This is by Binyamin's bracha, right? Being safe of Shachin, that the Shekhinah rested between the shoulders, meaning he was the ultimate host for the Makam HaShekhinah. But in any case, there was a little strip of territory on which the Mizbeach could have been built, which belonged to Yehuda. Turns out that it was not really built at that, they left out the Yisrael, so that there would be no portion of the Mizbeach on Yehuda's territory. But technically, there was a little place which was technically the Makom HaMizbeach, on which the Mizbeach potentially could have been built, which did not belong to Binyamin. And that explains why there was no Yisoid alongside those sides of the Mizbeach. Interesting, because of Binyamin as Tzaddik's Tsar, he was Zeicha to have the... Now, interesting, the question is, well, if he saw everything in Ruach HaKodesh, he saw that he had the Kodesh HaKadoshim in his... It was already there in his vision. Right? So we're saying because he was mitzvah, he was zeicha to get the, but it was already. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Right? He expressed his desire to host the entire Mizbeach. Because of that, although he, technically couldn't change that configuration, part of it belonged to Yehuda. So they sort of bypassed that by not building the Mizbeach on that little strip. But in any case, he was zeicha to get the Ashras HaShekhinah to be a host to the Aron, which he already saw, which was already, either he saw everything or not. So the pshat that's given here is that, it's retroactive, meaning Hashem knew that he's going to have that desire, that he so much wanted that connection to the Shekhinah. In fact, he wanted even more than what was, destined here. So because of that, he was zeicha to have, to in fact have the schos to be the host in terms of the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Aron, as it so happened. Meisvei comes a kasha. So you tell me that there was a Yisoid missing around some areas of the Mizbeach, notably, again, if we take a look at the diagram on Gimel Mabez on the bottom, left bottom corner, which is Mizrach Darim, had no Yisoid. Okay, now the ramp up to the Mizbeach came from Darim. So if we're looking at this diagram, we'll read from the left. And the Kohen would, climb up. And if he had to go around the Mizbeach, he would turn to his right and walk along the walkway, which was like a little rampart, walkway built into the Mizbeach, alongside the wall, alongside the horizontal wall of the Mizbeach. It would take you all around, would encircle the entire Mizbeach. But the first corner that he would meet would be Mizrach Darim, which had no Yisoid, right? Here comes a kasha, meisvei. Oila sa'if ketzad hoisanas. How would they process a oila bird? Hayamoilik is roshim mul arpa. So first you clip off the head from the back of the neck. So Erev is the back of the head, and the Malika would take place a bit below the back of the head, Mimul Orpa opposite the Erev, basically from the back of the neck. Umavdil, totally separate the head. Then they would squish the open part of this bird on the wall of the Mizbeach and have the blood trickle down. Now, this was, an application, a blood application on the Mizbeach, and as we learned yesterday and in the past as well, that the blood of the oila required placement over a yisoid. Now, this is the first corner that he meets. Rashi says, actually, it says later on that it's that corner that's missing, the Mizrach Darim corner. How could he do it there? It has no yisoid beneath him. The blood is just trickling, down into just thin air. There's nothing to land on. So if you tell me there's no yisoid on that corner, he's just doing it in the air. There was a ledge coming out of the wall of Mizbeach. Although there was no yisoid on bottom, there was a little ledge on which the blood would land. And that belonged to Shevet Binyamin, because the airspace belonged to Binyamin, the ground space to Yehuda, but the airspace, Eimar, will say Kachisnu. That's the arrangement they made between themselves, the two Shvatim. Avira de Binyamin, the airspace belongs to Binyamin, so the ledge coming out of the Mizbeach on that corner belonged to Binyamin, so it was valid for processing karbanis. Karka de Yehuda, although the ground beneath it belonged to Yehuda. Okay, so we say there was a yisoid missing along the Mizrach and Darim. Literally, there was no yisoid at all, or it just means to say it was inactive. It couldn't use it for processing karbanis because it wasn't technically part of Binyamin's, territory. What does that mean? There was no yisoid. Rabbi Amar Binyan. Literally, there was no yisoid built. It was empty. It was an empty strip. Levi Amar B'dam. Levi says, no, of course there was a yisoid there. A physical yisoid, yeah. It wasn't suitable for blood applications. It wasn't part of the active Mizbeach. Where are they coming from? Rav Mitargim, Rav interpreted the words in Parshas Vayechi, where Yaakov Avinu gave the brachos, Binyamin Ze'ev Yitraf, like a wolf that devours the Mizbeach, consumes karbanos. So he learned, Mitargim, he translated, Bachsante, in his territory, Yizbnei Madbucha. Madbucha is the Mizbeach, right? The Daled and the Zayin are interchangeable. So in his territory, the Mizbeach will be built, only if it's Binyamin. Otherwise, you can't build. So you have to leave out that piece of the Yisoid, which was technically situated over, Yehuda's territory. So according to Rav, there was no Yisoid at all along those walls. Levi Metargim, however, Levi interpreted it differently. Achsanti, in his territory, in Binyamin's territory, Yizbnei Magdasha, the Migdash will be built. Malkim Mekudash Damim, place which is sanctified for processing of blood. So the physical Yisoid, you could have built. So you have a complete, square. You don't have to make an uneven Yisoid. But that portion, the portion which was situated above Yehuda's land, was not Mekudash Dam, wasn't suitable. It wasn't suitable for blood application. It wasn't part of the active Mizbeach. Okay, so according to Levi, of course, the Yisoid went all around. So you had a sort of, you're looking down at the Mizbeach. Again, looking down at that diagram on the Gimel Beis on the bottom. That diagram is in line with Rav's opinion that the actual Yisoid was deleted on these sides. So you have an uneven, square on the bottom. Right, the square theoretically is a 32 by 32 amma square, as we're going to see later. The grand square, if it's a perfect square, would be 32 by 32, but they would have to delete, come in and out, and cut away from that square. So yeah, actually, if you look at the extreme elements of that square, if you look at the start from the corner of Marav Durham, where there is a little bit of Yisoid, and you start from that far end, take it over to the right, to the far end on the right where there was Yisoid, Tzaf and Marav, you would have 32 amas. And likewise, if you go from Marav, Tzaf and corner all the way to Tzaf and Mizrach, where you have that Yisoid as well, you can get 32, but on the other side, you were missing an amma, which made it less than 32. So according to Rav, that's how it was. According to Levi, no, it was a perfect 32 by 32 square, because the Yisoid really encircled the entire Mizbeach properly. It's just that along with Darim and Mizrach, which belonged to Yehuda, they didn't actively use it for karbanis. Tashma, here comes a raya, which appears to support Levi's opinion, that in fact, supports Rav's opinion, that in fact the Yisoid was configured the way we have it in this diagram. It was only along Tzaf and Marav, and also, it wrapped around the corner for a bit, just an amma, and that's it. But did not actually encircle the entire Mizbeach. Tashma, Yisoid ha'yamahalach al pnikal at-tzafin, al pnikal al-marav, the Yisoid ran alongside Tzafin and Marav entirely, and would come around the corners as well. Eichel b'darim amma achas, it would cover an amma at the corner of Darim and Marav. But Mizrach amma achas, likewise, it would come around an amma at the Mizrach Tzafin, a corner. Clearly it ended there. That's like Rav. Unlike Levi, who assume that it just continue all around. No, it says, why oichel nami bedam? The Brisa speaks about being oichel, consuming, meaning covering. It just means to say in terms of the active portion of the site, which was suitable for blood applications, so it ended there. But in terms of the physical presence of the site, it enwrapped the entire encirclement. Toshmai comes another raya. So the Mizbeach's grand square was 32 by 32 amma. Seemingly a proper square all around, nothing missing. That's a raya to the other shita, to Levi. Well, even according to Rav, it works, because at some points, as we pointed out earlier, at some points we do have 32. And that's what the Brisa meant, 32 by 32. If you look at the far sides where there was actually a site all around, so you can get to 32. Right? If you measure from Ma'arav Darim, where you had a Yisayid, over to Ma'arav Tzafon, you have 32. Likewise, Ma'arav Tzafon to Mizrach Tzafon, you also have 32. So in terms of visualizing sort of a virtual square, right, you have where to start from. You have 32 in some areas. So it's like a virtual 32 by 32 square, although you sort of have to shave off a little bit on the other sides. Tashmai comes another raya, where it seems that in fact there was a yesod all around. See, the Mishnah there is speaking about the grand total. How big were the Mizbeach and Kevesh side by side? So the Mizbeach itself, as we said, is 32 amma by 32 amma. And the Kevesh, the ramp itself, was also 32 amma long. Now, if you put them side by side, you would think 32 plus 32 gets you 64. Not so. Mishnah says it was only 62. Where did the 2 ammas go? Rice explains very simply, because 2 ammas were overlapping. How? So again, let's take a look at that Mizbeach diagram. So you have, let's start from Tzafon wall. Start from the Yesod. The Yesod itself was an amma wide. Then you have that next section. That was actually the Sevev. That was the walkway around along the wall of the Mizbeach. That was also an amma wide. So you have 2 ammas there. The actual top of the Mizbeach is 28. Then, that gets you to 30. Then you have another amma of the walkway on the Darim side, and then, theoretically, another amma of Yesod, whether it was there or not, but that amma was sort of earmarked for the Yesod. Get you another 2 there, so that's 32. Now, those last 2 ammas on Darim were actually covered by the Kevesh. So the Kevesh would run up to the Mizbeach and actually converge on the Mizbeach. Meet up with the Mizbeach. So it would sort of cover. It's like a bridge. It would like sort of it was a solid bridge, but it was a ramp that covered the 2 ammas we just pointed to on the Darim side. It would cover them. It would take you straight to the top surface of the Mizbeach. So technically, those 2 ammas were covered now by the Kevesh. So they were overlapped. You can't count them twice. Either you can credit them to the Mizbeach or credit them to the Kevesh. You can't count them twice because they were sort of covered over. They were overlapped. That explains where the 2 missing ammas went, for a total of just 62 between Kevesh and Mizbeach. Tashma nimtza perech amal yisoid v'amal soiviv, because the Kevesh was pereach, it flew over, it covered, it overlapped over the am of yisoid coming out of the Darim side and am of the soiviv, the walkway. Hold it. Darim had a yisoid. Why are you speaking about covering a yisoid? There was no yisoid at all, according to Rav, on the Darim side. Ema keneged am yisoid. It means to say, the potential amma where there could have been a yisoid. That amma was covered by the Kevesh. Practically, physically, there was no yisoid there. But it's just a term, it's just an expression. It covered that amma. So that amma cannot be counted twice. As part of the Mizbech, as part of the Kevesh. And also, Alama Soiviv, it covered the actual amma of the Soiviv, which is sort of buried in the Kevesh. which covered it. Tashmai comes another raya, where it seems that in fact the Yesod of the Mizbeach was constructed as a perfect square, with nothing missing. Tashma, the Tani Levi, how did they build the Mizbeach? Maybe in Malbin, they bring this form, 32 by 32. Like they make foundations today, like a wooden form, with a perfect square, 32 by 32. An amma high, to form the Yesod, which was an amma high and an amma, wide. Maybe chaluki avanim, they would fill it with construction material, chaluki avanim mefulames, smooth, river, moist rocks, so that you didn't have to chip it and cut it. It would be smooth and whole. Big deals, mektanis, whether large or small, fill it up with stones. Maybe sid, bring this like a lime or cement, vicunya. Rashi said that's nituach aver, molten lead, zephes and tar. Umachi would mix it with water, b'shoifich, pour it in there, and wait for it to harden. V'zo makam yesod, that's the yesod. Okay, so you've just constructed the first layer of the mizbeach, and then you would build yourself up. So you would now form the next section. You would invert an am on either side. That was the top of the yesod, and start building further. Maybe now you bring another form, which is one amma shorter on either side, so it's a 30 by 30 square. Amas 5 amas high to construct the next section of the mizbeach to get you up to the ramp. Or maybe fill it up with construction material, etc., etc. Now, once you finish with that 5 amas section, again you leave space for the walkway, which is an amma wide. You come in and you move up again. Put in another form, which is now missing one amma on either side, so it went down from 30 to 30 to 20 to 28. And the goy gimel amas 3 amas high, that's the last and final section, which gets you to the top of the mizbeach. Or maybe fill it up with material, etc. Now you've constructed the top, you've gotten to the top surface of the mizbeach where they burn the karbanis. We still have to have the actual protrusion, the corners for the the daman lachatas. Each one was an amma wide. So you bring another little form, an amma square, or maybe fill it up with stones, maybe zevachim, and you got yourself your corners. Likewise, regarding all the 4 corners. Let's get back to the first segment, the bottom segment, which was clearly described as a 32 by 32 amma perfect square, nothing missing. That's a raya to Laban. In fact, there was a yesod all around. The gayes, perhaps you have to actually saw it off. So initially it was constructed as one perfect square, then they used to cut it off for some reason. The gayes, you can't do that. You can't cut anything in the mizbeach. The mizbeach has to be perfectly whole. The gayes, Avanam Shleimus, Pasuk describes that as full, complete, whole stones. How do you get around this? The answer is like this: the mochas midi mitusei v'shakali. No, the Mishnah never meant you actually construct a segment of 32 by 32 solid. It means to say that the initial form was 32 by 32. For some reason, it was, just more convenient. It would be more accurate if it's done that way. And then, once you have that form on the floor, before you fill it, you with construction material, you sort of block the areas that you don't want constructed. So the areas where you don't want that yesod, you would fill it up with, styrofoam or something, or wood, and you would block it from being filled, and you would sort of create this artificial, this like space in there, that it remains empty, and then when they fill the rest, the resulting product would be a yesod configured exactly as per your design, exactly as described in that diagram on Gimel base. So again, you start with a perfect square, 32 by 32 all around, but then you put blockage material, right? And you sort of put it like another piece of wood, a form, an amma in to hold the material in place where you want it to be, leaving the areas that you don't want, you're leaving them empty. the machas midib to say you put something inside there, b'shakal, and then you remove it when things harden. You'll tell me, Hachib, because you don't agree with me. This is a system that was employed. How do you get the kronis on top properly constructed? They're meant to be hollow. The corners on top. Hadam Rav Kana tells us, Avanim shel kronis chalulus, the stones at the corners were hollow. Meaning to say that the kronis on top were actually meant to have spaces inside, but they were filled with material, and then they became solid. How do you get hollow spaces? How do we know it has to be solid? Hollow. Malu ki mizrak. Mizrak is a container, so the corners of Mizrach have to be containers. But they're solid, rock solid. Apparently. Torah says it has to be whole stones. You can't just saw and drill holes. Ella must be that you filled it with styrofoam or splinters of little wood, whatever, and you sort of created those gaps, and then you pulled them out when everything dried up. You put something in there beneath the concrete, and you pull it out later. Here as well, regarding the missing part of the yisoid, although technically it was included in the frame, but you fill it up with other material, and then you pull it out when the time comes, leaving an empty space. Okay, back to the story regarding the precise placement of the Mizbeach and the location of the Beis HaMikdash. How did this all come about? Dorash Rabbah. What does the pasuk mean? Vayelech David Shmuel vayeshvu b'Noyos. So David and Shmuel went to a place called Noyos, b'Rama in Rama. Now these are two separate locations. What's the connection? V'chima inyan Noyos. Why do we mention Noyos, which was one location? It's a Rama, as though it's connected to Rama, which is a different place. Ella, the answer is like this. It's describing an event. Shal Yeshim b'Rama. They were sitting in a place called Rama, which actually was Shmuel Hanavi's place. He lived in Ramais. Or Rama. Yeshim b'Rama. V'oiskim b'Noyos shel Olam, and they were involved in trying to investigate and try to figure out where to locate the Beis HaMikdash. Right, this was before the Beis HaMikdash was built. Noyos shel Olam, where's the beauty of the world? Where's it meant to be located? They had no clear directive on that. So they had to figure it out, using various clues, based on the Psukim. Amri, they figured like the Ksiv. So firstly, the Pasuk describes the Beis HaMikdash as being the high point, topographically, right? It was the highest point in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael. Amri, Ksiv, it says, "V'kam to v'alisal makom," go up, travel up to the Makom, to the Beis HaMikdash. So firstly, we have a clue in terms of the Beis HaMikdash being the highest point of Eretz Yisrael. Malamed, we learn Beis HaMikdash Gavaya Mikol Eretz Yisrael. And actually, Eretz Yisrael is also Gavaya, is highest, the high point of all the other lands. Mikol Aratzes. Rashi says, actually, that's not learned from this pasuk. That's learned from a different pasuk, where it says in Yirmiyah, Hashem has taken us up. In the future, it will be said that Hashem has gathered us from all the lands and taken us up to Eretz Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael is a high point. Once asked my Zayda of Shlomo Rottenberg. That's all. I mean, in terms of, today we measure everything in terms of sea level. Eretz Yisrael isn't the highest. Right? We have Mount Everest, we have other places which are, because it's all about how you start the ball, right? Earth is a ball. You can start any way you want, right? And wherever you start, that's the highest point. Eretz Yisrael is the focal point. That's the source of existence. That's the highest place in the world. Okay, in any case, so in terms of the Beis HaMikdash, we have a pasuk that topographically, physically, it's meant to be the highest place in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so that gives us a clue. But still, how do we know what's the highest? They had no way to measure it. They didn't know exactly where it is. What do you do when you're in trouble? When you don't, you take out a sefer Yeshua. So they went through the various descriptions of the various territories of all the Shvatim, and they noticed something interesting. B'Kuluksiv, regarding all the other Shvatim, it says Vayered, V'Yorad, V'Allah, Hagvul, V'Tar Hagvul, all different types of descriptions. V'yorad means it went down towards the sea. V'ala means it went up. V'torah means it just extended on the same level. Shevet Binyamin, however, when it comes to Shevet Binyamin, in terms of where he converged, where he met Shevet Yehuda, v'ala ksiv v'yorad ksiv. All it says is it went up, 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 up. It doesn't say it went down. So Rashi explains. Let's visualize Eretz Yisrael from south to north, right? So we have Yam HaMelech to the east, the Mediterranean to the west, Yam HaGadol to the west. So traveling up. So let's start from Shevet Yehuda, which was to the south. Right? To the south, we're traveling up to the north. Shevet Yehuda would meet up with Shevet Binyamin. Binyamin was to the north of Shevet Yehuda, and they would share a boundary. Now, when the Gemara says "Bekulu ksiv v'yorad v'ala v'tar," it means that if Yam HaMelech is to the right, Yam HaGadol is to the left, and Yerushalayim is in the center. So if you look at the scripted terms describing the topography of the Shvatim to the north of Shevet Yehuda, past Yerushalayim, from Yerushalayim towards the Mediterranean, we have going downward, v'yorad. It speaks about going down. It makes sense because it's going towards the sea. But on the right of Yerushalayim, from Yam HaMelech to Yerushalayim, in terms of how Shevet Binyamin met up with Shevet Yehuda, so describing the boundary of Shevet Binyamin and the area that he passes as he is sort of converging with Shevet Yehuda from Yam HaMelech up to Yerushalayim, all it says is it went up, 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 up. So apparently the high point is Yerushalayim, right? Starting from Yam HaMelech below, up, 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 towards the west, alongside, right? It's on the boundary of Shevet Binyamin and Shevet Yehuda, up, 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 to Yerushalayim. Rashi says, actually, it even says it went further up to something called Gei Ben Hinam, which was the mountain right next to Yerushalayim, which is actually higher than Yerushalayim. We'll see in a minute why they decided to sort of go down. We'll see. But in any case, clearly Yerushalayim and that area is the high point of Eretz Yisrael. So again, they took out a sefer, Yeshua, B'kulu ksiv, v'yorad, some take out the word v'ala, hagvul v'torah gvul. So regarding the territory past Yerushalayim down to the sea, describes that going down. However, regarding the topography, description of topography going from the Yam HaMelech up to Yerushalayim, it's all going up. It's uphill. B'Shevet Binyamin, where he met up with to the north of Shevet Yehuda, he just went up, up, up to Yerushalayim. It doesn't say he went down. Amr, they figured, okay. Apparently Yerushalayim is the high point. That's where we build the Beis HaMikdash. Now, as he explained, there was a hill higher than Yerushalayim, and they figured, let's build it there. Savar l'bnai b'Ein Itam. They figured, let's build the Beis HaMikdash on Ein Itam, which is even higher than Yerushalayim. The Madli, which is higher. Amr, they say, no. Let's lower the drop. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, being safe of Shach. The Shekhinah will rest on his shoulders, not on the head, which is higher, the shoulders. So let's bring it down a bit. That's the way it's meant to be. Another reason why they avoided Ein Itam, which actually was higher than Yerushalayim. Gemir, they had a Kabbalah, they had a tradition from the early generations, from Shmuel, from David, right? The Sanhedrin Bechelkoi Shel Yehuda. That the Sanhedrin, the high court and the ultimate Supreme Court in Yerushalayim, the disseminator of Torah to the entire Klal Yisrael, the ultimate authority, was meant to be stationed in the territory of Yehuda. Why? Because it says Yehuda is going to be the, Rashi says, Mechoykek bein raglav. They're going to be the lawmakers. They're going to be setting the tone and establishing and disseminating Torah. So the highest Sanhedrin, the highest court, is meant to be sitting in Shevet Yehuda. The Sanhedrin b'Chelkei Yehuda, u'Shechina b'Chelkei Binyamin, and the Shechina with the Aaron and the Kohen is meant to be in Chelkei Binyamin. So that preempts any option of building the Mikdash in Ein Itam. because that was in Shevet Yehuda's territory. And Binyamin was too far away for them to sort of merge together in one Beis HaMikdash. Right, the way it was now, Beis HaMikdash was situated right on the boundary. So part of it was in Shevet Yehuda, part of it was in Binyamin, right? Sanhedrin was in Yehuda, and the Azara, which was part of Yehuda, and the Mizbeach going up to the west, including Kodesh HaKodashim, wasn't Shevet Binyamin. But if you put it on a different mountain, you're not going to have that proximity, you're not going to have that arrangement. It's too far from Shevet Yehuda, from Shevet Binyamin. If you're going to lift it over to the higher mountain, which is Shevet Yehuda, further away from Shevet Binyamin, you have distanced yourself too far from Shevet Binyamin, you couldn't make this configuration. Mutav Dinitzi, better to lower it or drop, and get it to an area which is right next to Shevet Binyamin. This way, you can configure it properly. As the pasuk in fact says, on the shoulders rather than on the head. So this was David HaMelech's discovery with Shmuel Hanavi. On account of this discovery, the schus of having discovered and pinpointed the exact location of the Shechina and acting upon it, Doig Hadami became jealous of David HaMelech. In fact, he badmouthed him to Shaul and caused a tragedy with the killing of the Noiv, and for supporting David. The pasuk says, "Kinas beis chachalosin." David HaMelech speaks about the jealousy generated by him putting in the effort to establish the precise location of the Beis Cha, the Beis Hashem, achas lastin, that consumed me, that generated opposition. Uksiv. In fact, the pasuk says that David HaMelech took it to heart. This was his life mission. Zocher Hashem leDavid, it's called Hashem. Remember all my efforts. Recall all my hardships. Asher nishbal Hashem, that I promised to Hashem. Avil boil beisi. Before I come to my own place, before I rest my eyes and close them, even a sleep or a rest, I'm not going to do that until I figure out until I find a location for the Shechina. Which alludes to both Shvatim. It was discovered to have been placed to belong in the place of Ephraim, and they are. What is that? Ephraim is a Yeshua. The custom of Ephraim. Ephraim means Shevet Ephraim, which is the territory of Yeshua. So this was on account of that being assisted by the Sefer Yeshua, as we described. But so we discovered in this Dayar is Binyamin. So, as we explained, the Shechina was situated in Shevet Binyamin's place. Binyamin Zev Yitroif. Binyamin like a wolf, devours and hunts. And that is what he meant when he said, B'Tsanobes Deyar. The territory of Binyamin, which was reminiscent of an animal in the forest, in the Yar. And that's how they knew. They knew that. So this pasuk describes the process and how, in fact, it ended up being situated right alongside the convergence of Shevet Yehuda, Shevet Binyamin, in order to facilitate the proper placement of the Sanhedrin in Malkum of Yehuda, as the pasuk says, "M'chokek b'mein raglav." Sanhedrin belongs in Shevet Yehuda, and the actual Mizbeach, the Malkum of the Akrava, and the Malkum HaShechina, who was in Shevet Binyamin's territory. In fact, he was mitzdayer. Why was he mitzdayer? Because, as we explained, part of Yehuda's territory actually converged onto the Mizbeach area, and that's why they had to leave that part of the Yisod out, either leave it out physically or in terms of usage. And he was Zeicha, Binyamin HaTzadik was Zeicha to have the Shechina situated in his place. Okay, so again, regarding the Yisod itself, according to one Shita, it actually was all around, but they didn't use the part that was on Shevet Yehuda's place. According to Rav, there was no Yisod on that area at all. We had several rayas, brises, and missions which were answered according to both Shitas, and we described the process in which case David HaMelech, invested great effort and sacrifice with Shmuel Hanavi to figure out, to pinpoint the location of the Beis HaMikdash, which was built eventually by his son, Shlomo HaMelech. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha.